Hi everyone, in this video I'm gonna show you how to make this beaded fig. You're gonna need size 11 seed beads, violet, white, and two colors for the inside, and also beading needle and beading thread. To begin with, you're gonna pick up 4 violet beads, and you're gonna leave 10 centimeters as a tail thread. And you're gonna go through the first bead that you just added. So this is the first row. And next we're gonna pick up 1 bead and add it between the 2 beads. So 1 here and another here. Pull the thread really tight and pick up 1, go through the next bead, pick up another one and go through the next bead. And because this is the last bead of this row, you're gonna also need to step up. For the next row, we're gonna pick up 2 beads each time. So pick up 2, ignoring the next one, and go through that next violet bead. Again, pick up 2, ignore the next one, and go through the next one. And we repeat that 2 times. Pick up 2, ignore the next one, and go through the next one. Pick up 2, ignoring the next bead, and go through the next one, and also another one, which is the first bead that you just added in this row. Pull it really tight, and we have this. In this new row, we're gonna be adding 1 bead each time. So 1 bead between the 2 beads we added in the last row, and 1 bead between the group of 2 beads. And we're gonna repeat this 8 times in total. And this is the last bead of this row, so we're gonna go through the beads and also step up 1 bead, which is the first bead of this row. And we have this. In this row, we're gonna be adding 2 beads again in between the bead we added in the last row. Picking up 2 and go through the next bead of the last row. Again, picking up 2, go through the next bead of the last row, and we're gonna repeat this 8 times in total for this row. Here we're going to be adding the last two beads of this row. So go through the next bead. And we're going to also step up two beads, which are the first two beads of this row. And we are ready to start a new row. So for this row, we're going to be adding one bead each time. So picking up one, go through the next two together, which are the two beads that we added in the last row. And we're going to be doing that 8 times in total for this row. And this is the last bead of this row, going through the next two, and also the one which is the first bead that we added in this row to step up. In this new row, we're going to be adding two beads again in between the single bead that we added in the previous row, like this. Picking up two, go through the next single bead that we added in the previous row. And pull that thread tight each time. And as you see now, it's gonna be rounder a little bit. Now we're gonna repeat this process 8 times in total for this row. And those are the last two beads of this row, so go through the next one and also another bead, which is the first bead that we added in this row. Pull it really tight, and as you see, it's gonna be a round shape like this. In this new row, we're gonna be adding one bead each time, one between the two beads we just added in the last row, and also a bead in between the group of two, like this, to kind of fill a gap between the group of two. Picking up one, go through directly the next one, picking up another one, fill the gap between the group of two, and we're gonna repeat this 16 times in total. I'm going to speed up a bit the video and pick up from the last bead of this row. This is the last bead of this row, so go through the next bead. And we're gonna also need to step up one bead, which is the first bead that we added in this row. And we are ready to start a new row. So in this new row, we're gonna be adding one bead each time again to fill the gap between the beads that we added in the last row. So it's gonna be pretty simple. You just pick up one bead each time and go through the next bead. And we're gonna repeat this 16 times in total. And this is the last bead of this row. Pick up one. Adding the last bead of this row, pick up one, go through the next one, and also step up one bead, which was the first bead of this row, like this. Pull it really tight. And again, for this new row, we're gonna be adding one bead to fill the gap. Picking up one, go through the next bead, and we're gonna repeat this 16 times in total again. And here I'm adding the last bead of this row. So go through the next bead and also step up one bead. So go through the next two like this. And now we're gonna start the last row with violet beads. So basically the same thing as the last row, picking up one and fill the gap between the beads that we added in the last row. And we're gonna repeat this 16 times again. And this is the last bead of this row, so picking up one, go through the next one, and also the next one to step up. And now we have this. And now we're gonna start adding the white beads, and to do so, without adding anything, go through the next bead, which is this one, which is not the row we just added, but the row before the one we just finished. And now we can start adding the white beads. So picking up one and go through the next one of the same row, like this. Pull it tight so that the bead sits inside of the violet part. like this, and we're gonna repeat the same thing. So picking up one, go through the next bead of this same row, and for the last bead of this row, we're gonna be adding a violet bead and not white one to do the same thing. And now step up one bead. For this new row, we're gonna be adding one bead and go through the next two white beads like this. Again, picking up one, go through the next two white beads. And pull it really well. Adding one, go through the next two. The same thing all around. And now we want to close a little bit the top part of the fig. So without adding anything, go through the violet bead that we added in the last row, like this. And directly go through the white bead that we added in this row. Pull it tight. And now moving on to the red beads to create the center of the fig. So picking up two beads and go through the next white bead that we added in the last row. Same again, picking up two red beads and go through the next white beads that we added in the last row. So as you see here, I'm mixing two kind of red beads to add more sparkles. So one of them is size 11 seed bead, and the other one is size 11 Delica bead. And we're gonna do the same thing all around. Now coming up from the last white bead, we're gonna just add one red bead to go through the next white bead, and also the last two red beads that we added in this row to step up. Now we're gonna be adding only one red bead to fill the gap between the group of two red beads, like this. And here on the bottom of the fig, we're not adding any beads, but we're just going through the red beads that we added in the last row, because there's no space to add any more red beads here. And now picking up one, and go through the next 2 red beads as usual. Same again. Go through the last 1 red bead which is on the top, and now picking up only 1 red bead to go through the last red beads that we added in the last row. So picking up 1 and go through the next red beads. And here, because we didn't add any red beads in the last row, we're going through the 2 red beads from the previous row, picking up 1, and now go through the last red bead that we added in the last row, and same again. And from now on, so what we're gonna do is to try to fill the gap that exists by adding only 1 red piece. To go through the next red, adding 1, and go through the red piece of the other side. So each time adding 1 bead where there's a gap, and go through one of the beads that we added in the last row to connect all together. And where there's no gap, you don't need to add any new beads. And now what we do is to kind of do a zigzag without adding any new beads to close the gap that exists in the center of the fig. So I'm just kind of doing the zigzag to get the 2 parts together. And now there's no gap anymore in the center of the fig. So we are ready to finish the piece. So now what we do is to go back to the top of the piece. So it doesn't really matter which path you're gonna take, but you just go through a few beads to go back to the top of the fig. And this is the bead that you want to come out from to finish the piece. And now we're gonna be adding 2 violet beads that we used in the beginning, and go through the next violet bead that we have added before to kind of create the top part. And now go through a few beads to go back to the left side of the fig to be able to go through again the top part we just created to kind of secure the new piece that we just added. So again, it doesn't really just matter what kind of path you're gonna take. You just need to go back to the top part and go through the new piece again. So now we're ready to finish the piece. So go through a few pieces that are close. And now we're gonna tie a knot. So to do so, you go under a thread that's between the 2 beads, like this, and you create a knot. Then you go through a few beads before cutting the thread. Now we're gonna be doing the same thing with the tail thread. So you go through a few beads and you go under a thread and tie a knot. And go through a few beads again before cutting the thread. And now it's done. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.